Hey, let's get back on this thing. All right, we're back at it. Today, let's start with the handlebars. Here's the handlebars that we took off of the bike. You can see they've been over tightened pretty hardcore, and there's quite a lot of rust on there. So I actually consider this more or less a safety issue. I'm going to definitely replace these handlebars. We have several different styles of handlebars available. Let me show you. Here's a few of the different handlebars that we offer for your BMW 2-valve twin. These are really high quality, made in Germany, and they are 22 millimeters, not to be confused with 7/8 of an inch. 22 is ever so slightly smaller. You want to make sure you always get a 22 millimeter bar so that your controls will slide on. It's enough of a difference where on a 7/8 bar that they won't. So starting with the tallest first, this handlebar here is what we call the RT bar. It's essentially the exact same bend as is on the R80 and R100 RT, but it can be adapted to any motorcycle if you want to have a more upright seating position. This one is the US bar. This is a very good copy of the original bend. This is like the bar we took off of this /6. This one is was designed for the US market, starting with the /5, and it's a really nice, comfortable bend. A little bit higher seating position, not quite the RT, but it's got a nice bend to it, real pleasing. And then we've got the S handlebar. This one is like on the R90, R100S models. Kind of a nice compromise, not too low, not too high, very good looking handlebar. And this is the one that I'm going to put on the R90/6. This is my favorite one for this bike. And then we've got the 650 millimeter low bar. This is like the bar that was installed on the European model /5s, and it's really cool. It's narrow, low. It's really also a very cool bend. And now we've got this one too, which is the same bend, but 10 centimeters longer. You can see the difference here. If you want just a little bit wider bar, there's a good option for you. And so while we're talking about handlebars, we've also got these really cool bars for GS riders. This is very close to the original bend for the G/S and R100 GS, made in Italy by Tomaselli, also 22 millimeters. It's a pretty awesome handlebar. And we also have it in a low version, which is just a little bit trimmer, lower, and a couple options for the GS riders. Well, let's get back to the business at hand. This is the one I've chosen, and let's go install it on the motorcycle. We'll just put same way they came off. And I'm going to go ahead and use new wave washers and nuts on this too. Just get in there and get them all started first of all. A little fiddly getting all these nuts in there from below, but it's not difficult, just be a little bit patient. And then line that up so it's nice and evenly spaced, and looks to be a good angle. Just want to make sure that you draw these clamps down nice and evenly. The gap should be the same both front and rear. You don't have to super crazy tighten them. Tight, snug, don't need to over tighten. That's all you need to do. Now we start putting controls on the bike. So I already cleaned up the controls a little bit. So these should be pretty much a perfect fit on the handlebar, but sometimes they go on a little tight. Usually that's just simply because they've been over tightened previously. So make sure everything's clean and there's no burrs or anything like that, but if need be, ever so gently, just open this back up a tiny bit because just judging by the way these handlebar clamps were, or these handlebars are mashed down, I can make some assumptions about some of the torques that have been applied on fasteners on this bike. There, that's how it should be. Just a perfect fit. For right now, I'm just putting them on sort of loosely. We're going to fine tune it later, get the levers all in alignment, and we can tighten it up, get everything set up. So now we're getting into the throttle sleeve and throttle cables. So I went and cleaned this up already. This grip is a nice relic from the old days. That's gonna go away here in a moment. But the teeth on this, the way this works, it's like a gear mechanism. These gears go together. It's very important that these are always properly lubricated. It's really an important maintenance item to take this apart, clean it, and well, I used to always do that at every time we did a major service on the bikes. Unfortunately, the teeth on this, like so many of them, are a bit worn. So you can see these teeth are pretty mashed right in here, and the corresponding teeth as well. Now, I've seen way worse. This is probably going to be okay. If not, it's easy enough to change out later. We can give it a try. What we can do is sort of dress these up a little bit with a file and just take some of the burring off. The way that it works is you'll see there's a little index mark right there, and there's also an index mark on the cam itself. So they go together like so, like that. That's the proper position. And so usually you get most of the wear like right there, which is exactly what's going on here. You can see the teeth there like that. But let's see if we can just clean them up a little bit and then reinstall it. See how it works. Okay, not going to take very much material off here. Just get some of these larger burrs off of there, just very gently. And then here as well. Yeah, that should be a little bit better. So if the teeth are too far gone, then we have these parts that you can replace them with new. But let's see what happens. Well, first what we'll do is get rid of this old grip here. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean this sleeve thoroughly on the inside as well. And so then I'm going to also apply some grease to there so everything is nice and lubed up for the best action we can give it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to put some new throttle cables on. The old ones probably would have worked okay, but we went to a little bit lower handlebars requiring a shorter cable. These are some really great cables that we have. They're a really nice reproduction for a great price, and they really work well. You'll find them on our website. So the first thing I'm going to do is slide these cables into this boot. Now this is the original one that came out of there. It's actually in pretty good shape, so I'm just going to reuse it. We do carry this replacement part, however. Just put the cables through this boot. And then lower them right aside like that. Okay, so now, as I was saying before, it's really important that you grease this area up really well. Here again, I like to use the Liqui Moly LM47. Works great in this application. And you just want to basically pack a good amount of grease in there. And apply some to the teeth as well. Now this cam sits in like so, and you kind of know when you're in the right position when this cable end is like butted up against that stop there and the chain is pulled tight. Now you can also see the marking on the cam is facing straight out to the right, and that's what's going to mesh with the throttle sleeve. Then I'll put a little bit of grease on the inside of the throttle sleeve, and also smear a little bit on the handlebar itself, and then slide that into place. And then you have to look at those marks we talked about earlier. Sometimes you don't want to get too much grease in there so you can still see the mark, but it'll fit right in that spot perfectly. So now we can introduce the cables. Just pull the cables back like so, and set one in the bottom, set one in the top, put the cover on like that, and everything should just sort of snap right into place like that. You can verify that everything is seated correctly, and then put the screw back in. Okay, so now we can put the cables into place, the boot back on, and now we're going to go ahead and route the cables down to the carburetors. Yeah, so then the cables go in through the steering head, past the steering head like that. Just make sure everything has a nice flow to it. And then one crosses over to the left and the other one down to the right. Both cables are the same, left and right, in this case. Just right behind the voltage regulator. It's a really nice flow. You can see it doesn't interfere with the steering. It's all good. All right, so start by screwing the nut up most of the way. So the way I do it is I reach down underneath and push the throttle butterfly all the way open, and this gives you a nice shot at getting the cable end inserted like that. And then, while you're holding the butterfly open, you start to screw this screw in like that. Now, just for base settings, and there should be a little bit of free play in the end of the cable, just for starters. You don't want that under any tension. We're going to come back and adjust these later, but that's a good base setting. Pushing the left control on, we got to hook up the clutch switch. Oh man, the wire's broken. So before we go any further, we have to do a repair to this. We have to solder that wire back on. So let's do that. Okay, so this has been soldered before. Let's see if we do a little better job. Gotta go ahead and do both. That off. Nice clean end, and then trim a little bit of wire off. And then I'm going to clean the contacts off. See how that's been done. It's been just soldered on. It works pretty well. Something like these hemostats, you can just kind of clamp the wire on so it stays put. I'm going to hang it from the lever like that. Sort of fan that out. All right, now I'm just going to put the switch back in. That's the clutch switch so that you can start the bike in gear when the clutch is pulled in. All right, so that's that. Okay, now we're going to put the control switches on, the combi switches, and because we put a little bit lower handlebars on, the wires are a little bit too long, but that's no big deal because we can just pull through inside the headlight bucket and take up some of that, get rid of some of that slack. Much better. Here we go, pretty sound. I'm going to pull that clutch switch wire a little bit too, just to keep everything. All right, so that's coming right along now. Alrighty, I'm just going to attach these cables with a zip tie on each side. All right, next we can throw some grips on this machine. These are the original Magura grips. We have them as a set, also individually. And these are the closed end. They're also available with an open end if you're running bar end mirrors. So we've got all these different ones. And we're going to go ahead and put these on now. You can sort of approximate the distance here. Make sure you leave yourself enough room with the control. And then need to use some glue to put these on. Okay, a few ways to do this. This actually works great. This is what we've been using on some of the gaskets on the projects because it's pretty creamy and, you know, light in weight, and so it works great as a lubricant to put the grips on, and then cures it. The grip stays nice and tight on the handlebar. So just going to take the applicator and go right inside the grip like that and put some on the handlebar. Don't have to do it too crazy, and working very quickly. Just push the grip on. There we go. And I kind of like the seams so horizontal, make sure everything's nice and straight. And then before it dries, get rid of any excess that you might have pushed out. Cool, that's another really good use for this product. If you have some rubber glue or actual grip glue, it's another way to go. Or some sort of spray adhesive, but that's on there nice and tight. Go around to the other side. And so on the throttle side, you want to just make sure that there's no handlebar protruding at the end. What should be the farthest out is the throttle sleeve. So at that position, I'm going to go ahead and tighten that fastener so it doesn't slip. And that's really so that you don't have any extra tension on the end, so the grip can move freely. All right, there's the grips installed. If you have a later model bike, the ribbed grips, the later model /7 and later, we carry those too. Those are also available, but this is the right one for this bike and for /5s too. Next thing we're going to do is put a new clutch cable on there. Here again, really nice quality reproduction cable that we offer. And let's go ahead and put that on. So the old boot on this one's torched. Luckily, the new cable comes with a new one. So that adjuster goes in. All right, so I'm going to just lay the cable along the frame down below and route it up this way, up through the gusset on the steering head and underneath the instrument bracket. And right in like that. And next, I'm going to connect the cable up at the lever. We went through this before. We did the gearbox with the old cable. Kind of talked about this a couple of episodes ago, but in any case, so you want to pull some cable through like so and insert that into the connector like that. And now it's very important that the clutch lever is clean and greased. I did clean this one previously when we did the gearbox way back when, but I'm going to throw a little extra grease in there just for the heck of it. And this barrel connector is going to fit up inside. And the reason why it needs to be greased is that as the clutch is actuated, the cable end needs to spin, basically. It has to be able to move back and forth. If it's not lubricated properly, the cable will bend, and that's usually what causes cables to break. Here again, LM47 is an excellent grease for this application. Just going to get up inside the hole in the clutch lever and pack a bit of grease in there. And then push the barrel into the lever. Just like so, and then some grease will splooge out. That's okay. And that's the top. And down at the gearbox, just slide the cable in to the gearbox housing there. Bit of grease on the barrel. And on the lever where the cable is going to be attached. I take a screwdriver and lay it in there against the frame and essentially actuate the clutch and then hang the cable in. So we did adjust the clutch cable once before when we did the gearbox a few videos back, but you know, this cable isn't stretched like the old one probably was, and it's too tight. There's no free play here. So we need to make the adjustment at the gearbox. So for that, you need a 13 and a 10 millimeter wrench, and loosen the lock nut down here, the base here, and then in this case, loosen the adjusting screw. So now we've got plenty of free play. Next thing we got to do is adjust the cable length. So with free play at the lever, what you want to do is you need to come up with something that's 202 millimeters long. This is a zip tie that I cut down, piece of welding rod, coat hanger, anything like that will work. You're going to put that into at this point at the transmission housing, and going back to basically the bottom part of the half moon on the clutch actuation arm. That should measure right around 202 millimeters. To achieve that measurement, you make the adjustment up here at the clutch lever. Once you've got this cable adjustment correct, then you can go ahead and lock down this lock nut, because we don't need to change that anymore. It's all done. Now, to achieve the proper free play, you see there's still way too much there. That's 10 millimeters, something. Well, we want something around like that. 2 to 3 millimeters is good. And that's done with that lock nut down at the rear of the gearbox skin. So there again, you need a 10 and a 13 millimeter wrench. So coming around here, okay, with one hand on the clutch lever, I'm going to screw this in to the point where I feel, just sort of trial and error, till you get about 2 millimeters of free play at the lever, and then hold it in that spot and tighten the lock nut. Then we'll double check at work. Yeah, it's good. Something we're still missing in the front end that we need to take care of is the steering damper. Would put that in now at this point, but one little problem, this ball is loose on here. So I'm gonna take this home and weld that, because I have my welder at home. And then that'll be as good as new. It's all steel, just with the wire feed, it'll be good as new. So that'll come later. But what we can still do today is put the mirrors on. Let's do that. We carry mirrors for pretty much all BMW motorcycles, especially all the 2-valve twins. And these are made by the original manufacturer, the original supplier to BMW, BUM, made in Germany. Got good pricing on these. They're just exactly what came originally on the BMWs. So this is going to really help to make this look like a motorcycle again, having a nice set of mirrors on there. So there are long and short versions in most applications. The difference being, of course, in the length of the stem. These are the long mirrors, we call them, and that's what's most suitable to lower handlebars. If you've got a bike with taller bars, then the shorter mirrors would probably be more appropriate. I think these are the right ones for this bike. All right, look at that, it's starting to look like a motorcycle. Well, we're going to wrap it up for today. We got quite a lot done. At least the bars are on it, mirrors, cables. It's getting that much closer to being a runner again. Coming up, we're going to be going through the instruments and showing you all kinds of different options you have there. Get the headlight all sorted out, make sure that works. We've still got front wheel bearings to do, the brake system, quite a bit. And then ultimately start the motorcycle, time it. So a few more episodes to come on this bike before we call it a wrap. But in the meantime, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please do leave some comments below or questions if you have any. I'm happy to answer them as soon as possible. And also have a look at the information below, which will reference a lot of the parts that we used on this video. So until next time, gotta run. See you then.